Cheaters of Reddit. Why did you do it? I was stuck on a boss and was very frustrated and just wanted to get past it, so I can have fun again. The following is a result of not putting the serious tag in your question. I just couldn't fight the stress. That slice of pizza looked way too inviting. My wife cheated on me. She claims it was an isolated incident, but I am skeptical. We're still together. My self-esteem and sense of self-worth were initially so terrible, but I've gotten a bit better. I've been eating really well and working out. Arizona heat is great for sweating, burning calories, and I'm in great shape and I'll look really good. But I'm afraid I'll never get over what she did to me. There's a new girl at work and we get along real well and text snap a lot. She's also just drop dead gorgeous. Without going into more details, I think there's a good chance I could sleep with her. And I want to do it. I know I should have left my wife a while ago. I know I should leave her now. I know that her cheating on me doesn't make it okay for me to do to her. I know I'm a shitty person. This is the first time I've talked about this. I've considered seeing a therapist. Edit. This was unexpectedly very helpful. I appreciate the responses. I'm going to research a therapist to go to, and I am not going to seek my co-worker in that way. Not sure what will happen with my marriage, but at the very least I'm not going to be a cheater. Thank you all. I haven't, although she urges me to. We're older. She's menopausal and has lost desire, and I'm facing my end and want to enjoy life. So I have a green light from her, but she is my love, and casual sex is like an oxymoron to me. It's frustrating, I won't lie. Edit. Thanks for advice, folks. Yes, that would be an open marriage, which is simply a huge change of gears if it isn't your inclination. We've been monogamous for over 30 years. Also, it's not a matter of her not being attracted to me or be attracted elsewhere, it's Mother Nature slamming on her brakes. She's not cruel, I'm not in hell, I'm frustrated. The end of my year's comment is just that, I'm on the downside. I'm mid-50s and have brain tumors. They aren't immediately life-threatening, but that could change, and I've already dodged more than my fair share of the bullets. I'll try and give a serious answer, lol. Was in a 7-month relationship that fizzled as quick as it started. We stopped having sex or being intimate. We became roommates real fast. A friend of mine, who I knew long before I met my then GF, got closer and closer to me. To be fair, I never actually cheated, but I caught myself one day, texting the other girl nonstop, and realized what the end game was. Broke up with my GF a few nights later, ended up dating the other girl for a little under 3 years, until she moved out of the country. Gonna break the theme and give a real answer of the one time I did cheat on someone. Wasn't happy, was only in the relationship because of threats of self-harm, and not having the understanding and maturity to deal with it. Cared enough to say okay, we'll work it out and go with whatever she wanted, but the relationship itself was hell. Was asked over by another girl and thought to myself in that moment, fuck it, I don't care, I've already tried to break up like half a dozen times and went on over. She found out, of course, and cut herself badly enough to get hospitalized. I told a nurse about our relationship and how I've been trying to end it, but caving to her threats of self-harm. Her parents were there too, though they were of the opinion I should just stick with her to get her through life. Nurse told me that she was only going to end up killing herself and to leave her, and honestly that get out of guilt-free card was all I needed. She died a few years later. Suicide? I go back and forth on if the right thing to do was to stick with her and try to be her support. Don't set yourself on fire, and yet. I dunno. No sex for a year. When we did have sex, she'd just lay there. She started going out all the time without telling me who, what, when, where. Always unhappy. Night of main event, other girl starts making major passes. I try to leave and call GF in my car. Rings and rings. More passes from other girl. Call GF again, she clearly hangs up, declines my call. Go back inside to other girl. Eternal regret. Edit. A few people are getting caught up on that eternal regret ending. My only Reddit post can fill you in on that drama if you're that curious. Some Jerry Springer stuff right there. She chipped away at my self-esteem and confidence for over a year. We did the thing where we would be good for a few months, and then she would break up with me for a week or two, presumably to get with some guy she liked. I knew it was the case at least one of the times. She would always make the comment when we would be having makeup sex, "I bet this is better than jacking off." So basically she was saying I wasn't attractive enough to have sex with anyone else. So I proved her wrong, also got some of my self-esteem and confidence back, as pathetic as it sounds. I had finally had enough when she was getting ready and casually said, "I think I am too pretty for you." Kicked her out and declined any further attempts at reconciliation. I'm too lazy to take care of my Sims and get them proper jobs. Why get an actual job when you can just spam Motherload? He was practically showing me his cards, it was impossible not to look. I was young, horny, and stupid. So a typical high school senior. I didn't realize the emotional pain it would cause my then girlfriend, and looking back as an older, wiser, more mature person, it's something I deeply regret. I was in a relationship with a man who was 8 years older than me and who started grooming me when I was 13. The person I cheated with made me feel genuinely cared for and appreciated. It was something I'd never felt before. I felt safe. It was the first time I slept with someone because I actually wanted to, instead of doing it out of fear. I was stupid. Only time I did it I was on the way out with my current GF. Girl that I had mutual feelings for was on the outs with her BF. Too many drinks later and we are going at it against a wall. Woke up the next day, broke up with my GF. Girl didn't leave her BF. Moved on. Have an amazing wife and life now, but this mistake will be with me forever. I was the guy who said I would never cheat, and now I am not that guy. TLDR. Don't get drunk around people you have complex feelings about. I didn't study enough for the final, and the cute girl next to me was willing to help me on a problem. Then we had dirty sex. We have a pretty hardcore group of around 5 Monopoly deal addicts in my office, and give or take another 5 people who play casually. Initially I'd occasionally cheat by holding more than the maximum 7 cards. I'd also sometimes slyly put money into the bank when it's not my turn. Why did I do it? The fraud triangle framework theorizes that people commit fraud due to the intersection of opportunity, pressure and rationalization. I had the opportunity because my movements are deft and swift. I had the pressure to win because losing is soul-crushing, and Harry looks like a smug twat whenever he wins. I rationalized my actions as a necessary evil for my own mental health being and departmental harmony. I quit cheating after I found a Monopoly deal website online. Playing against Russians and Russian bots has elevated me to a level where I am my department's GOAT Monopoly deal player. I now look forward to the occasions where I lose the way a cricket legend approaches his second innings in a test match. Still fucking hate it when Harry wins though. Because she cheated first and lied to me about it. I then met a willing and sexually adventurous woman, and things happened. I do have to thank my ex-girlfriend because I would never have gone through it if she had not motivated me to do so. The real answer? I was too much of a pussy to admit that the relationship had failed. I was determined to make it work, and I thought if I cheated we would be equal, then I could move past her infidelity. I was wrong, she broke up with me not long thereafter. My first relationship lasted 3 years. This was all in high school. It should have lasted 2. He was very mean to me, and every time I tried to break it off, things only got worse. So I lied to him, said I was staying home, and then hung out with this guy who wasn't really my type, but he was nice and followed me around like a puppy dog, obsessed with me. It made me feel special. I kissed him. He found out I lied about staying home. Next time we met up I seriously feared for my life. He kept a closer watch on me, suspecting, but not knowing, I had a thing for this other guy. BF1 and I planned to have sex after my birthday. We started dating when I was 15, this was almost 3 years later. I couldn't explain it to him, but after bad encounters early in life, I wanted to be 18 before having consensual sex. I wanted to be an official adult first, as though waiting would stretch out my stolen childhood more. He thought it was stupid. It was, I still can't explain it. A few months before my birthday, my first BF moved to another state. We tried to long distance, his desire, not mine, but eventually things just fell apart slowly. By then the other guy had lost interest and I was telling him I loved him. I just said it to get him to follow me around like an obsessed idiot like he used to, because it made me feel better about myself. We ended up having sex a few days after my birthday, my first time, While I was technically still long-distance dating BF1. I was not sexually attracted to this second guy, I only had sex with him because I thought it would make him value me more. I knew he'd had sex before, and he claimed to be someone's first time as well. I read that bleeding a lot during first time was a myth or very exaggerated. Wrong. I started bleeding so much. Must have been half a cup or more. Not period blood, but fresh runny blood dribbling out as though I'd been stabbed with a knife in a major vein artery. He was like, "You don't bleed on my bed," so I stood up, and he's like, "Don't bleed on my floor either." He grabbed a paper towel for me and said with a hint of disgust he was going to take a shower. I laid in his bed with a paper towel stuffed between my legs, feeling like I wanted to cry, but all I could do was stare blankly as emotions of guilt, sadness and disappointment washed over me. I knew your first time was never the best, but I had no idea it would go that way. A couple months later, I survived a suicide attempt, which was really a wake-up call to me that I needed better people in my life or none at all. Eventually BF1 and I connected again, and he told me he had his first time with someone else, so I told him about my experience also. His was not great either. He was finally going to therapy and being medicated, so I felt we could finally talk as adults. He's improved a lot, I'm very happy for him, but I told him we could not ever date again. He was still living far away and was much more meek and agreeable over text than in person. Sorry that was so long and sad, but it has a happy ending. I've been in an actual healthy relationship for a year and a half now, after learning to be comfortable on my own being single, but this guy really supports me and improves my life and brings me up when I'm down, so that's why I'm dating him. I tell him all the time how grateful I am to have him in my life. Split-screen multiplayer in Halo. I'm not about losing to my younger cousin. Money in GTA 5 is hard to get, okay? Don't blame me. I didn't feel loved and cared for by my boyfriend, had very little attention from him. We were together for 7 years, then broke up. Now couple of years later I wonder why did we stay the extra 2 years together, even though neither of us was happy. I was incredibly immature and essentially once I got a taste of blood, cheating with another woman, I was hooked. One in particular got me hooked. I fell in love with her while trying to maintain a marriage, along with a pregnancy with my spouse. It was all bad. I got caught up. Given chances to change. Didn't. Spouse left with child. That love changed. Had separation time. Lots of time to sit and think and live alone. Moment of clarity came. Turned life shit around. Changed attitude. Acknowledged faults and repented. Inquired another opportunity to be back in lives of estranged wife and child. Was given opportunity with clause of, if you fuck up ever again, even slight or whatever, you're fucking done. It's been understood. Life is good. A little over a year out from reconciliation. Own home. Spouse is schooling. Work is good. Mind, body, and spirit are good. Baby is great, more importantly. All is better with a changed mindset. Thanking God on my end. Hate all you want. It helped to get my ass in gear and better myself for the long run, the hard way. I will never not feel terrible for what I did, but what matters now is how much more I can make up. Selflessness over selfishness any day. Thanks for reading. We entered into the relationship under the guise of cheating and lies. She left her fiancé of 5 years for me. I was in a rather odd place psychologically and had just moved to a rural area and due to a car accident lost my job, source of transportation, and basically any access to the non-rural area that I was living in. Even though I was only an hour outside of a major metropolitan area, it felt like it was a continent away. She was my professor. We started gradually with her coming over to what was basically my shack in the middle of nowhere a few nights out of the week. I was in love with her, however for me it felt like I had made the decision out of desperation rather than as a legitimate choice. I was, still am, 6 years younger than her. The administration at the school found out about us, she lost her job, I was kicked out of school for an unrelated reason. She found another job she was more suited for, I wound up begging my grandfather for money, and I got a 10-year-old Prius. Naturally I started Ubering. After a few months of Ubering and with having the first taste of freedom in a very long time, I got drunk at a ride's house with them and wound up having sex. I get that I'm terrible. I told her what happened and she never really forgave me. She would bring up the fact that I cheated at least twice a day. Gradually our arguments got more physical. I never really thought that I could get as angry with someone as I was with her. She didn't like me using Uber as a source of income. She kept bringing up that I cheated every day. There were multiple occasions where she used weapons against me, a beer bottle, scissors, a golf club. Admittedly, I was rather aggressive as well, however I kept my hands to myself. After about 4 months of this intense arguing, I moved in with a friend and started working for the state. She and I continued seeing each other. There was underlying paranoia on her part where she continually accused me of cheating. I loved her, she loved me. So we stayed together. After a few months of living with my friend, I moved back in with her. The fighting and the paranoia were still there. In between these bouts, we were having sex between 4 to 7 times a day. We would fight and then we would fuck. This went on for another 5 months or so until I moved out while she was on a weekend trip to the beach. At this point I started seeing other people. I had been fed up with the entire situation, and the amount of guilt that I felt about having cheated on her initially kept me attached to her. I saw maybe one person a month or so, typically for a night here and there. We broke up for a month and got back together. At this point, I found myself getting jealous at the fact that she had seen other people. The first time I hit her back, we were in a screaming contest. She had demanded the names of the people I'd had sex with. I told her who they were. I wanted to know who she'd been with, and she refused to tell me. She threw a cup at my head and started hitting me in the face, scratching me. Most of the time I just blocked my body and waited for her to stop. I have previous injuries from my time in the army. This time I'd had enough and I hit her back. With a closed fist. I thought that it would have stopped things, however she just got more aggressive. Every day, she'd berate me for what I'd done, how I was abusive. The fights kept happening and kept getting worse. At least once a week I'd have to put my hands on her or put her in a sleeper hold to stop what was happening. Most of the time she'd start the fights. As time progressed, I would start them as well. Eventually she went to the police. After reaching an agreement with the DA's office, and as I've had no other issues with law enforcement, I was given a year of supervised probation with a court-mandated anger management and domestic abuse class. I also am seeing a therapist through the VI, and my job has recommended a second therapist that I see frequently as well. All of my friends and family told me to leave, as did hers. We were codependent. It's been a lot to get over. I'm still getting used to talking to women after this. Sometimes I can get pretty weird, and obviously being charged with domestic abuse makes things difficult to keep someone around. I've been socially ostracized, and there are certain bars in my town I can't go into now because of safe space policies. I've only got a few months left on probation, and hopefully the charges will be expunged. My lawyer seems to think so. I fully recognize what my role is in all of this. I understand I should have left after it was evident that she wouldn't be able to forgive or trust me again. I should have never let things get to the point where we were this aggressive. I was stupid. Now I'm paying for it. She's perfectly fine and freely dating acquaintances within my social group now. It's kind of awful actually. My boss fired me, so I fucked his daughter. I was hungry and already met my macros for the day. I took a shortcut through the gas station instead of waiting at the light to make a right turn. Because I never got over my old flame. We found each other after many years and found it was mutual. In my case, it was because I had two lovely girls of entirely different sorts coming at me at the same time and just couldn't decide. Had two good things and couldn't let either go. Plus, I have this crippling inability to say no to a girl that's crying, causing me to fail to dump one of them. Took months until things finally came to a head, at which time I fully expected to lose them both, but one held in there. Went on with her for a few years until it fell apart due to various sob story reasons. After that, the other one tracked me down. We picked up like nothing had happened, and that went on for a few more years. Then I finally got my comeuppance when she cheated on me, almost as if she'd been playing the long game for that revenge. Oh, to top it off, they were both cheating on their current boyfriends to get to me when we first met. Looking back, we were all pretty dysfunctional. Stupid, weak-willed, and fairly handsome is a recipe for heartbreak when you're young. These days, I less have my cake and eat it too, so much as get regular beatings from the cake that's around primarily for practical reasons. To think of how much time I spent ridiculing my cheating friends before that incident and going ballistic whenever I heard of anything close to infidelity. Never saw it coming, as I always imagined it as something some men did simply to get more tail. Once you're in it, it tends to look a whole lot more complicated. I never understood cheating in a relationship. If you're unhappy, then leave. Don't make another person miserable just because you're miserable. Funny jokes and people rationalizing their cheating. After reading this thread, I have realized everybody sounds stupid for why they cheat. Never have cheated, never will. Because I couldn't defeat Shadow Stalker, so I brought the boys with me. I just wanted to feel that pleasure again, so I went online and sexted to different people. At the time I didn't understand my girlfriend's problems she's facing, so I guess my dick got the better of me. Now she thinks I'm a liar and a cheat. Even though she's still with me and I don't cheat anymore, I wish I could go back in 2017 and tell my old self to not cheat, because in the end our trust has gone thin and I'm working extra hard to gain her trust once more. P.S. She loves me a lot and I love her too. I wouldn't want to do that stupid shit again.